Before Zeus hurled his first thunderbolt, before mankind walked the earth, the universe was ruled by beings of unimaginable power, the Titans. Their screams echoed across creation as they were cast into the abyss, their 10-year war lost to the new gods of Olympus. But who were these primal deities whose defeat changed the course of mythology forever? The universe began not with light, but with darkness. From the swirling void of chaos emerged the primordial goddess Gaia, Mother Earth herself. Lonely in her existence, she created Uranus, the sky, to be her companion and consort. Together, they would produce the first true pantheon of gods, the mighty Titans. 12 colossal beings were born from this divine union, 6 males and 6 females, whose powers were so vast they could shape reality itself. For generations, they ruled unchallenged, establishing a golden age before time as we know it existed. Their story is not merely ancient superstition, but an epic saga of power, betrayal, cosmic order, and ultimately, the birth of our world. The relationship between Gaia and Uranus wasn't destined for happiness. Though they produced magnificent children in the Titans, Uranus feared their power. When Gaia bore more offspring, the monstrous Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones, Uranus was horrified. He imprisoned these children deep within Gaia's womb, causing her unbearable pain. In her anguish, Gaia crafted a great adamantine sickle and approached her Titan children, asking which of them would rise against their cruel father. Only the youngest, Cronus, accepted the weapon. When night fell and Uranus descended to couple with Gaia, Cronus emerged from hiding and castrated his father with a single brutal slash. From the blood that fell upon the earth sprang the Furies, giants, and Meliae nymphs, while from the severed organ cast into the sea, mixed with ocean foam, the goddess Aphrodite was born. With Uranus defeated, Cronus took his place as ruler of the cosmos. He married his sister Rhea, and together they ushered in the storied Golden Age, a time of abundance and harmony, when mortals knew neither suffering nor death. But the shadow of prophecy hung over Cronus. Just as he had overthrown his father, it was foretold one of his own children would someday dethrone him. Determined to defy fate, Cronus devoured each child Rhea bore him. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon were all swallowed whole. But when Zeus was about to be born, a desperate Rhea tricked Cronus, giving him a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes while hiding the infant on the island of Crete. There, Zeus grew to adulthood, nursed by the goat nymph Amalthea and protected by the warrior Curetes, whose dances and clashing shields masked the baby's cries. Before we witness the fall of the Titans, we must understand who they truly were. 12 primordial beings whose existence defined the very fabric of reality. Cronus, the youngest and most cunning of the male Titans, wielded a power unlike any other. As the god of time, his domain was the inevitable progression of all things toward their end. His curved harvesting sickle symbolized not just his violent rise to power, but the reaping of time itself, cutting down all that exists when its moment has passed. After overthrowing Uranus, Cronus established his golden kingdom at Mount Othrys, presiding over an age of plenty. Yet, despite his outward benevolence toward mortals, darkness festered within him. The prophecy of his downfall twisted his mind, leading to the desperate act of consuming his own children, a futile attempt to control fate itself. In modern times, we see Cronus's legacy in our constant awareness of time's passing. The very word chronology derives from his name, and his Roman equivalent, Saturn, gave us Saturday. When we speak of something as chronos in modern Greek, we refer to time itself, the unyielding current that carries us all. Where Cronus represented the harsh certainty of time's progression, his wife Rhea embodied life's nurturing aspects. As the titaness of fertility, motherhood, and generation, Rhea's power lay in creation rather than destruction. Her sacred animals were the lion and the bee, symbols of both fierce protection and sweet nurturing. Unlike her husband, Rhea valued her children above power. When Cronus's paranoia led him to devour their offspring, she orchestrated the deception that saved Zeus, an act that would ultimately lead to the Titan's downfall. Yet in this sacrifice of her own position, she ensured the survival of a new divine order. Rhea's influence persists in our reverence for the Earth's bounty and the sacred bond between mother and child. In ancient times, her worship merged with that of Cybele, the Anatolian mother goddess, creating one of the most powerful and enduring female divine figures in the ancient world. When we speak of Mother Earth today, we invoke the spirit of Rhea. Imagine a vast river encircling the entire world, containing every drop of water that would ever exist. This was Oceanus, eldest of the male Titans and ruler of the great world ocean. His domain wasn't merely physical, but metaphysical, representing the primordial waters from which all life emerged. Oceanus married his sister Tethys, and from their union came the 3,000 Oceanids, sea nymphs, and all the rivers of the world. Unlike many of his siblings, Oceanus remained neutral during the war between Titans and Olympians, perhaps recognizing that water, like change itself, was inevitable and eternal regardless of who claimed divine rule. Today, we honor Oceanus's legacy whenever we speak of oceans or oceanic currents. The vastness of the sea, covering more than 70% of our planet, stands as a monument to this ancient Titan's domain. Modern oceanography studies what was once thought to be his literal body, the waters that sustain all terrestrial life. The counterpart to Oceanus was his wife Tethys, titaness of fresh water and nursing. If Oceanus represented the great saltwater ocean, Tethys embodied the fresh waters that directly nourish life. From her came the rivers, streams, and springs that make terrestrial existence possible. Tethys was known as the nurse, not merely of her own children, but of all living things. The ancient Greeks believed that all creatures sank into Oceanus's waters at sunset and were nurtured by Tethys through the night until they emerged rejuvenated at dawn. This daily cycle of renewal was her sacred power. The name Tethys lives on in science. The ancient Tethys Sea that once separated the supercontinents of Laurasia and Gondwana bears her name. When paleontologists discuss the Tethys Ocean, they honor this primordial goddess who once represented all life-giving waters. The High One. This was Hyperion, titan of light and watchfulness. His domain was the celestial fire that illuminates the cosmos, and through his union with his sister, Theia, came the three most important heavenly lights: Helios, the sun, Selene, the moon, and Eos, the dawn. Hyperion not only controlled light, but embodied the power of observation. Nothing escaped his notice as his children traversed the sky, witnessing all that occurred on Earth. This omniscience made him one of the most powerful titans, for knowledge itself was his domain. When we speak of Hyperion imagery in literature or film, scenes of radiant, transcendent light, we invoke this ancient titan's power. His name has adorned everything from spacecraft to supercomputers, all instruments designed to observe and illuminate the unknown, just as Hyperion once did for the ancient world. The goddess of sight and the blue sky's brilliance, Theia was Hyperion's wife and equal. Her domain was the ether, the bright blue of the heavens that allows light to travel and vision to function. Without Theia, the ancient Greeks believed, we would not only lose the blue sky, but the very ability to see. Together with Hyperion, she produced the sun, moon, and dawn, but her power extended beyond mere creation. Theia blessed gold, silver, and gems with their luster and shine. Anything that gleamed or glittered in the ancient world owed its brilliance to her divine influence. Her name means divine, and she represents perception itself. In modern psychology, we might compare her role to our understanding of consciousness, the awareness that allows us to perceive and interpret the world around us. When gemologists speak of a stone's brilliance, they unknowingly invoke Thea's ancient power. Intelligence, inquisitiveness, and rational thought, these were the domains of Kos, the Titan of intellect. His name stems from the ancient Greek word for questioning, and he represented the mind's ability to probe the unknown and seek understanding. If Hyperion was heavenly light, Kos was the mind's internal illumination. Married to his sister Phoebe, Koeus fathered Leto and Asteria, who would in turn give birth to some of the most intellectual Olympian gods, Apollo, Artemis, and Hecate. This lineage of intelligence shows how even after the Titan's fall, certain qualities were deemed too valuable to lose. When scientists pursue knowledge or philosophers question reality, they channel the spirit of Koeus. His legacy lies in humanity's relentless curiosity, our drive to understand the cosmos rather than merely existing within it. Every question we ask is a prayer to this ancient god of inquiry. Where Koeus represented questioning, his wife Phoebe embodied the answers that come from beyond rational thought. As the titaness of prophecy and the oracular intellect, she held dominion over mystical knowledge and divine wisdom. Her very name means bright or pure, suggesting the clarity of prophetic vision. Phoebe was the original owner of the Oracle of Delphi before gifting it to her grandson Apollo. This transference symbolizes how certain Titan powers were incorporated into the new Olympian order rather than being destroyed. Prophecy was too valuable to lose in the cosmic transition of power. Today, we see Phoebe's influence whenever intuition challenges pure reason, when insight arrives unbidden rather than through methodical deduction. The mysterious moment of knowing without knowing how you know. This is Phoebe's ancient gift still manifesting in human experience. Perhaps the most mysterious of the male titans, Crius ruled over the constellations and the southern pillar of the cosmos. Ancient Greeks envisioned the sky as a great dome supported by pillars at the cardinal directions, and Crius maintained the southern foundations of heaven itself. His connection to the constellations gave him dominion over celestial markers of time and navigation. Sailors looking to the night sky for guidance were unknowingly consulting the domain of Crius, whose name means ram and connects him to the constellation Aries. Modern astronomy, with its mapping of stars and celestial bodies, continues Crius's ancient work. Though rarely mentioned in surviving myths, his fundamental role in maintaining cosmic order makes him one of the most essential yet overlooked titans. If there is one titan whose legacy most directly shaped human existence, it was Iapetus. Known as the Titan of mortality and craftsmanship, his name means the piercer, perhaps referring to his role in establishing the boundaries of mortal life. Iapetus fathered some of mythology's most important figures: Atlas, who would hold up the heavens; Prometheus, who gave fire to humanity; Epimetheus, who accepted Pandora and her infamous box; and Menoetius, representing human mortality and violent death. Through his children, especially Prometheus, Iapetus established the defining conditions of human existence: our mortality, our ability to create with fire and tools, our pursuit of knowledge, and our capacity for both foresight and folly. When we craft tools or contemplate our mortality, we experience the dual gifts and curses bestowed by Iapetus's lineage. Before writing, before history, there was Mnemosyne, the titaness of memory and remembrance. In a world without books or recordings, memory was the only repository of knowledge, making Mnemosyne one of the most powerful and fundamental deities. After the Titanomachy, Zeus came to Mnemosyne on 9 consecutive nights, and from this union were born the 9 Muses, goddesses who inspired all human arts and sciences. This myth suggests that memory itself is the mother of creativity and knowledge, the foundation upon which all human achievement rests. We honor Mnemosyne whenever we use mnemonic devices to remember information. The ancient Greeks developed elaborate memory palaces and techniques that treated memory as a sacred art rather than a mere biological function. In our digital age, when external devices increasingly store our memories, Mnemosyne's power reminds us of the value of internal, living remembrance, justice, natural law, and divine order. These were the domains of Themis, one of the most respected Titanesses. Her name means that which is put in place, and she represented the fundamental order that makes existence coherent rather than chaotic. Unlike many Titans, Themis retained an important role even after the Olympian victory. She became Zeus's counselor, emphasizing how essential her principles were to even the new cosmic order. Through her union with Zeus came the Horae, seasons, and the Moirai, fates, entities that further structured both natural cycles and destiny itself. Today, Themis's blindfolded image adorns courthouses worldwide, symbolizing impartial justice. When we speak of consequences being thematic, naturally following from actions, we unknowingly invoke her principle of natural order. In a universe governed by physical laws, Themis's ancient domain remains perhaps the most visibly active of all Titan powers. When Zeus reached maturity, he returned to challenge his father's rule. His first act was to force Cronus to disgorge his swallowed siblings. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon emerged fully grown and ready for battle. United with Zeus, they declared war on the Titans, beginning the cataclysmic 10-year conflict known as the Titanomachy. The war divided the cosmos. Most Titans supported Cronus, though Oceanus remained neutral, and a few, like Prometheus and Themis, foresaw the inevitable Olympian victory and joined Zeus's forces. The battle lines were drawn at Mount Othrys, seat of the Titans, and Mount Olympus, the Olympian stronghold. For a decade, the war raged without resolution. The Titans' raw power matched the Olympians' strategic brilliance. Only when Zeus freed the imprisoned Cyclopes and hundred-handed ones did the tide turn. Grateful for their liberation, the Cyclopes crafted Zeus's thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helm of invisibility, weapons that could challenge Titan might. With these divine armaments and the assistance of the hundred-handed ones, each with 50 heads and 100 arms, the Olympians finally prevailed. Most male Titans were cast into Tartarus, the deepest pit of the underworld, where the hundred-handed ones became their eternal jailers. The female Titans, largely non-combatants, were mostly spared this fate. Some Titans received unique punishments. Atlas, son of Iapetus, who had led the Titan armies, was condemned to hold the heavens aloft for eternity. Menoetius was struck down by Zeus's thunderbolt and cast into Erebus. Prometheus, despite siding with the Olympians, would later be punished for giving fire to humans, chained to a mountain where an eagle daily devoured his regenerating liver. Though defeated, the Titans were never truly gone. Their influence continued through their children and the fundamental aspects of reality they represented. Many married into the new Olympian order. Metis, daughter of Oceanus, became Zeus's first wife, while Apollo and Artemis were grandchildren of Coeus and Phoebe through their mother Leto. More fundamentally, the Titans represented primal forces too essential to vanish even in defeat. Time, memory, the oceans, heavenly lights, prophecy, these powers remained, now administered by new gods, but unchanged in their fundamental nature. The cosmos required these forces, regardless of who claimed divine rulership. In modern times, the Titan's legacy persists in unexpected ways. We speak of titanic forces when describing immense power. NASA named a moon of Saturn Titan, acknowledging these ancient deities. The ship Titanic itself bore their name, an ironic choice given the vessel's fate. Beyond mere words, the Titan myths help us understand our own relationship with primal forces. When we harness nuclear energy, we might recall Prometheus giving fire to humans. Our efforts to measure and control time echo Cronus's domain. Environmental movements that seek to protect the oceans invoke Oceanus and Tethys without realizing it. Perhaps most importantly, the story of the Titans reminds us that even the mightiest powers eventually face challenge and change. The cosmos itself evolves, with new orders replacing old. Yet nothing truly valuable is ever completely lost. It merely transforms, finding new expressions under new management. The Titans were not merely characters in ancient stories, but personifications of the universe's fundamental aspects. Their defeat wasn't the end of their significance, but a transformation of how humans understood and related to these primal forces. In the end, the Titans never truly fell. They merely changed form, continuing to shape our world and our understanding of it to this very day. When we gaze at the ocean's vastness, remember something long forgotten. Observe cosmic laws operating, or mark time's passage. We experience the living legacy of these ancient beings who once ruled all creation. The Titans are more than mythological curiosities or ancient religious figures. They represent humanity's earliest attempts to understand the fundamental forces that shape our world. Before scientific explanation, these personified deities gave meaning and order to a chaotic universe. First, the Titans matter because they established the cosmic hierarchy that would define Western mythology. Their defeat established the pattern of generational conflict and succession that appears in countless cultural narratives. From fantasy epics to space operas, the theme of older powers giving way to new orders echoes the Titanomachy. Second, the Titans represent primordial forces that still dominate our existence. Cronus reminds us that time conquers all, while Oceanus represents the primeval waters from which all life emerged. Mnemosyne's domain of memory remains essential to human identity and culture, while Themis represents the natural order that science seeks to understand. These concepts transcend their mythological origins to symbolize universal aspects of reality. Third, the Titan myths reveal humanity's complex relationship with power and knowledge. Prometheus's gift of fire to humanity symbolizes how technology brings both progress and peril. Atlas's punishment of bearing the heavens suggests how responsibilities can become burdens. These stories continue to provide metaphors for modern challenges. Finally, the Titans created a bridge between the abstract cosmic forces and the more anthropomorphic Olympian gods who followed them. This transition marks an important shift in how humans conceptualized the divine, moving from remote, elemental powers toward more relatable deities with human-like personalities and concerns. This humanization of mythology reflected growing civilization and self-awareness. When modern corporations name themselves after titans, like the titanium industry or Titan Aerospace, they invoke these ancient associations with primal power and foundational importance. When astronomers name celestial bodies after titans, they acknowledge their role in ordering the heavens. Even our language preserves their legacy, with words like titanic, oceanic, chronology, and mnemonic, directly referencing these ancient deities. In the end, the Titans were never merely defeated, they were absorbed and transformed. Their powers continue through their Olympian successors, their descendants among gods and mortals, and through the natural forces they personified that continue to shape our world. In this way, the Titans achieve a form of immortality beyond even what the ancient Greeks might have imagined, living on in our cultural consciousness and daily experience of the world. As long as time flows, as long as we remember the past, as long as we marvel at the stars and oceans, the Titans endure. Their story reminds us that even the mightiest powers evolve rather than truly end. A comforting thought in our changing world, and perhaps the most titanic legacy of all.